Hey everyone, welcome back to Miniature Painting 101, a series of videos where I teach you all about painting miniatures from start to finish and everything in between. And this is part 97, Ulthwe, or Ulthwe. A really cool craft world color scheme for Eldar that is black and bone. So of course, since the majority of the model will be black in this case, I start off by priming the model black with Stynylrez black primer. It has a great matte finish to it, but of course I don't like to just leave it at black, so I decided to go with gray liner, of course, and I'm going to do a highlight color with gray liner. And the cool thing with gray liner is a dark matte gray from the Reaper range, so basically when the light hits it perfectly it'll appear dark matte gray, but otherwise it will appear black. So it's a great blending color, and I always highlighted up my blacks with this color. So I left all the recesses the primer and built up a highlight color of gray liner over all the raised surfaces, basically, leaving a bit of the edges and the shadowing the primer. I really don't like to use my primer as my base, my base coat color. So this is one of those keys where you just build up a nice, quick gradient of grays, which the eyes will still perceive them as blacks. But it looks a little more artistic. So as you can see now, I'm just building up all the areas that my light source is hitting with the gray liner, I can leave the black like between his legs and any area that's facing vertically down. I can leave that black. And then with a Midtone gray, I just did a quick edge highlight of all these areas just to pick up certain details that I really want to draw the eyes to, such as abs. As I've done with the other Eldar videos, the armor of the Eldar is really nice and really defined and has some great musculature to it. So you just use the muscles as a good system to tell you what to highlight and what you really want to draw the eyes to on this. So as you can see, I'm just drawing it on the pecs, his abs, the tops, the shoulders, the edges of the shoulders, just doing a nice edge highlight of these areas just to bring your eyes to make them pop a little bit more. I'm just doing the edge highlight of the shoulders. And on the hands, of course, because they're facing straight up. So it's a good place to highlight. Key is just take your time, do a nice thin coat. Now that we're done with the black areas, now it's time to start on the bone areas. And now, since we used a very dark primer, I'm going to do 2 thin coats of Xandri dust. Of course, I always thin down my paints with some acrylic matte medium. And, so I'm just going to do 2 nice thin coats of Xandri dust over his helmet, his gun, and his belt. All 3 of which will be the bone colors. As you can see, the first coat goes on a little thin, but once it dries and you apply a second coat, it really does bring that foundation to life. You get a nice solid coating, and then you can do shades and highlights as you wish. And now I'm just doing a second coat, as you can see, and that second coat goes on so much nicer than the first. That's a great thing about doing that. Nice thin coats, doesn't obscure any detail, and you get a nice solid foundation. So it's a win-win situation. And that's just the downside of going with a light color over a dark primer. Once I was completely done, I then went to the mid-tone color before the shading. I didn't want the shading to be too extreme, so I went with Ushabti Bone, of course the mid-tone bone color from the Citadel range. It's nice to get it nice and thin, and applied it over the entire surface. And because we got that nice solid Xandri dust coating, Ushabti Bone will once again go on with relative ease, and it'll be a really easy color to go on. If you were to do this over the black primer, you'd have a lot of trouble. You'd have to do probably 2 or 3, at least 3 coats of it, nice and thin, to get the bone color on it. So we let the Xandri dust do the work for us. And it's up to you if you want to leave a little bit of the Xandri dust in the areas just to establish some shading. But you can do that also with the shades later. Up to you. As you can see here, I'm basically covering the entire area with the Ushabti Bone. I decided to go with Seraphim Sepia for this shading. I wanted the sepia appearance in the recesses as opposed to the browns. So what I did was I always thin it down. Seraphim Sepia is a very, very strong shade, especially when you add it over a bone tone. So I did a 1-to-1 mix of Seraphim Sepia and just water, some soft water. And I applied this watered down Seraphim Sepia to all the bone surfaces. That way you get the nice sepia appearance, but it's not overwhelmingly sepia. You know, it can easily drown out the colors that you've base coated it with. And obviously another precaution was doing it over the Ushabti Bone. And once it's completely dry, as you can see now, there's some good amount of shading. And now we'll just build up the raised areas back again with the Ushabti Bone, leaving the recesses and the edges the Seraphim Sepia. So I'm just building up all of the areas facing upwards on his helmet, leaving the recesses and the edges sepia, obviously. And there for his belt. And finally the gun. I'll just do a quick overbrush of his gun to build up those bone tones. And then finally I used Screaming Skull, which is the lightest of the bone tones from the Citadel range. I just used to highlight the very vertical, basically the top part of his helmet and the jawline of his helmet, just to bring your attention to it. And I just did a quick edge highlight of certain parts of the gun and his belt. Just like, once again, just draw your attention and make these areas really pop. Of course, I did thin down slightly. The layer colors are slightly thinner, obviously, than the base colors of the Citadel range, so it's much easier. And it'll blend in quite nicely. So I like the bones, as I said, it has a sepia tinge to it. And that's it. So once you paint the eyes like I normally paint the eyes and the jewels like I paint the jewels in previous miniature painting 101s, here's what the model looks like. As you can see now, he is very, very much an Ulthwe color scheme. He has the bone tones and the black area is done. It still draws your eyes to each one, and there's some great highlighting. And that is a simple way of painting an Ulthwe Craft World Eldar. He turned out really cool. Gotta love Eldar. So thank you as always for watching this episode of Miniature Painting 101. I really hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for next week's episode, part 98, which is just around the corner. But if you don't want to wait for next week, check out The Warp. Click on the link below for a free 14-day trial to my premium YouTube channel. Not only will you get to see the next 6 months worth of Miniature Painting 101 episodes before anyone else, you'll get to see almost 100 start-to-finish painting tutorials, battle reports, face-off episodes, its own Q&J, and an Airbrush 101 series of tons of content. You're going to love it. Go check out The Warp. I know you will. So thank you as always for watching. Until next time, this is Jay saying, happy painting, everyone.